What's up guys, I'm Newbie Dave and today we are finally building a skeleton farm. Let's get started. So how's it going guys? Hope y'all are having a great week. So if y'all remember all the way back to, I think it was episode 2, when I went caving for the very first time, I found a skeleton spawner in the cave that we were exploring. And I got so excited and talked about what a great find this was and how we were definitely going to come back and make a skeleton farm at some point. And then it never really went anywhere. And I have been meaning to get back and actually make that skeleton farm for a long time now. There's just been so many other things that have come up that I really wanted to get to first. So I think the time has finally come to make our way back to that cave and finally build that skeleton farm. Now I just need to remember where it was. Whoa. And I found my way back here, no problem whatsoever. I totally did not go back to episode 2 and look up the coordinates for this place because I couldn't find it again. Absolutely did not happen. Okay, so before we get started, we need to do a little bit of planning. This thing is actually pretty close to the surface. If I look at my coordinates, I'm at Y57, and I mean the surface is right here. You can even see the dirt on the top of the spawner room. And so, I mean, it's just right there. Now that's not really a big deal, except for the fact that my plans for this build are to sort of move the skeletons that spawn into a little water canal thing that pushes them over to a water elevator that launches them up pretty far, about 20 blocks, and then pushes them over so that they fall 20 blocks, or 22, I forget the exact number, 20 or 22 blocks, so that they take most of their health worth of damage. The whole point is when they fall, they've only got like 1 or 2 hit points left, so you can just, pop and take them out. That way you don't have to sit there and hit them over and over and over with a pick or an axe with mending or something that you want to heal up. You just one hit kill them. And so it means that we're probably going to end up going above ground for a big portion of this build for the water elevator, moving them over and having them drop back down. Not a big deal, it just means that we're going to have to build a little bit more rather than doing a whole lot of digging. Next thing we need to figure out is where we want the kill room for this thing to be. If I look around this thing, yeah, so there's cave over on this side, so I don't think we want to mess with this side. In fact, we're probably going to have to fill a little bit of this in because we're going to have to dig around the spawner a little bit. So we'll probably put the kill room right over here. Since this is the cave entrance, we'll just come down here, we'll go into the kill room, this thing will spawn a bunch of skeletons, they'll get sort of shot over and drop down in our laps right over here. So I think I want the kill room to be on this side. Okay, so to get started, we actually need this room around the spawner to be 9 by 9. And right now it is 7 by 7. Yeah, so we just need to go out a little bit more in each direction. The reason for this is that the spawner will cause skeletons to spawn within an 8 by 8. It's actually like 8.5 by 8.5 area around the spawner. And so we want to give this thing as much room as possible to spawn skeletons so that it doesn't fail. Because when the spawner tries to spawn a skeleton, if the block that it randomly picks is not available, if it's not something that it can spawn on, then it's just going to fail. And so we want to give this thing as much space as possible to spawn skeletons so that we get the highest rates from it. We also want to dig under this thing a little ways, but before we do that, I want to clean this up because even though we'll probably never come back in this room once we get it started, you know me, I like things to look nice. So I'm going to take out some of this nasty granite and probably this andesite too. And then we'll just say anything I take out I'll fill in with stone bricks. I'll throw in a couple of cracked stone bricks and maybe some mossy stone bricks. And same thing, I want to get rid of the ceiling since it's currently dirt. I want the whole thing to look like stone or stone brick. Now I should say, before you start on this, you definitely want to light this area up so that the spawner doesn't begin spawning skeletons while you're working in here. That would be very bad. Alright, now we also want to lower this thing quite a bit. So the spawner is only going to spawn skeletons within about 1 or 2 blocks below the spawner, but we want to drop the skeletons a few more blocks below that, because if I remember correctly, the spawner will not spawn more skeletons while there are already some skeletons within the spawn area. So we want to get those skeletons out of the spawning area as quickly as possible so that the spawner will spawn more skeletons and we'll get better rates from this thing. Now before we drop down too far, I do want to place a stone slab on top of the spawner, because mobs cannot spawn on top of stone slabs or any sort of slab that's on the bottom half of the block. And so this will keep skeletons from spawning on top of the spawner, and then they'll just kind of get stuck there because we're lowering the floor, and so they won't want to drop down. So I think I will lower the floor about 4 blocks below the spawner. That should be good enough. So here's how we're looking so far. We've got the whole area cleared out. I need to go fill in that corner that was already open from where we found this room. And then in digging down, we broke into some other parts of the cave, so I need to go fill in the rest of these walls, clean out this gravel, because gravel's just gross. And then you need to leave yourself a way to get in and out of this thing while you're building it. Normally it would be where I came from, but since we've kind of broken through the cave down here, I'll leave this corner open for now and close up everything else. Alright, so I got this whole area dug out. I filled in all the blocks I didn't like the diorite, the granite, the gravel. Filled those in with stone bricks, and I did go ahead and put some other just regular stone in there, because otherwise it would have been a whole lot of stone brick. Now, I want my kill room to be on that side behind this wall right here, which means I'm going to have some water pushing the skeletons in that direction. Now to start with, we're going to put water on this side, and you can see it's going to flow all the way to the end except for the very last row. So we're going to dig this out like that, and then we'll come back and we'll eventually put water sources all the way along this wall, and so this entire floor is going to be water pushing everything that spawns off into this little trough here. Now if we put a water source here, we can see it's going to flow all the way to here and stop. So we want to dig out that block so that the water source will flow down and continue. And then we're going to dig into the wall a little ways. So I'm going to scoop up the water now to make it a little bit easier to work. But this is going to be how we transport the skeletons out of the room where they spawn and down into the kill room. Now we don't need to go very far with them. I'll probably just go 1 or 2 more. And yeah, this should be good. That'll get them far enough out of the spawning room, and then we need to get them far enough past this wall where we can drop them down into a room we'll dig out on that side, and it won't interfere with, we won't break through this wall into the spawning room. So for this next step, we're going to need a couple of signs. So I'll make up, alright, we'll start with 9 signs. That should be enough. We also need our soul sand and kelp. And I also need to make a couple of fence posts. Alright, and that'll all become clear in just a second. Alright, so down here at the end of the canal where we're going to be moving the skeletons, we're going to dig out this block and put down our soul sand. And this will be the bottom of our water elevator. So we're eventually going to dig this all the way up through the surface. And we'll have to continue it up manually, building a structure around it to get it as high as we need it. But it's going to start right here. Now we're going to dig out the block right next to the soul sand and put down a fence. Okay, my bad. This needs to go 1 block below the soul sand, like that. And we want to dig out 1 more block next to it. So the idea is we're going to have water running over this leading up to the soul sand, because if we didn't do that, then the water would stop right before the sign and the skeletons would just kind of stand here. We need the water to push them all the way into the water elevator. So now if we put down our water source to try this out, we should see it flows all the way and stops right at the soul sand, which is perfect because with a fence there, the fence is like just over a block tall, and so it's actually going to push them up onto the soul sand and into the water elevator that we're about to build. Alright, now I'm going to do something I've said repeatedly never to do. I'm going to dig straight down. So these are the coordinates directly above my soul sand, and I couldn't dig all the way up, and so I'm going to go from the top and just start digging down. There we go, and we broke through. Alright, so I'm at Y50 right now, and so however far up we build this thing, we need to drop the skeletons 22 blocks. And so if we drop them back down to Y50, then we need to go up to Y72. If we want to drop them higher than this, like if we want to get them back up to the level of the floor in here, which would be Y53, then we need to go up to Y75. And I think that's what I want to do, because I think I want my kill room on the other side of this wall to be on the same level as this. So I want them to drop 22 blocks down to Y53 from all the way up there into a room on the other side of this wall. So let's start with that. I'm going to go ahead and build the kill room, and I'm going to do it by digging out from this room first. Alright, nope, I changed my mind. It's my series, I'm allowed to do that. So rather than having the water elevator be right here and going up, I'm actually going to have it go further over this way, because if I did it right here, that means I would have to push the zombies over like 1 or 2 blocks and drop them down right here, and it would have been very cramped. I didn't like that. So what I'm going to do instead is I'm going to have the canal that pushes the zombies out push them even farther away, which is good. It will get them away from the spawner room even faster, which will allow more zombies to spawn sooner. And then I'll have them go up and push them over a few more blocks and drop them down in the back of this kill room. So this is still kind of a small kill room, but it's okay because this isn't like a new base that we need a whole lot of space to live in. We're just here to kill skeletons. So this is going to be the magic block that they're going to land on. Now inside of this block is going to be a hopper. Let me go build that really fast. Alright, so I'm going to do a double chest with a hopper going into it. And then on top of that hopper, I'll put a slab just so you don't see it. And this will, again, just make things look a little bit nicer. Alright, so this is the magic block that we need to drop them down onto. So I'm going to start here and kind of work my way backwards. So right now I'm at Y52. I'm at 448, negative 245. Alright, so I'm at 448, negative 245 up on the surface. So I'll just dig down until I break through. And then this will also be where our water elevator will be at the same, I guess, Z level. So I'm going to put dirt right there. That's eventually going to be soul sand, but you can't grow kelp on soul sand, so I'm going to start with dirt and then I'll replace it with soul sand later. So we'll dig down next to that and put a fence. And then since this is farther out, we have to go down a couple of levels because the water is not going to flow all the way from one end to the other. Now the reason that I built it like this is because I'm actually going to put some glass right here so that I can see into the spawner room after I finish this whole thing up. And I think I'm also going to put glass here so I can see the skeletons sort of floating by. Alright, so same thing, we need to look at these coordinates, 452 minus 245, and go back up to the surface and dig straight down from there. Now be careful with this part. I have my feather falling boots and netherite armor, so I don't take a whole lot of damage when I fall. If you're just wearing normal armor, this fall could take a whole lot of damage, so be careful when you're digging down like that. Alright, so back inside our kill room, this is where we want the skeletons to land. That's at Y52, so we need to go up 22 levels. We need to go all the way up to Y74, which means we're going to have to build something up at the surface around this hole to extend the hole up even further. Now we could build this out of anything. I think I'm going to build this out of black glass. I think that'll look really cool from the surface. Alright, so here's our hole. First thing I'm going to do is just kind of surround it with dirt a little bit. That'll at least take one level off that we need to build up. And then using black glass, I'm going to go up to Y74. Okay, that's not too bad. We were pretty close. We didn't have to go that high. So this is where the skeletons need to drop from. Once they land, they should only have 1 hit point left. Now some of the skeletons are going to spawn with leather armor or gold armor or something, so they'll take a little bit less fall damage. But for most of the skeletons, this should damage them enough that you only have to hit them once. Angry spider. Alright, so I'm going to build this over to our other hole. And this is where they're going to shoot up from. So build this around like that. Okay, so admittedly, this does look a little weird with being built out of just glass, so I think I'll go ahead and fill in the corners with stone bricks. Let's see how that looks. Oh yeah, that makes a whole lot of difference. Now it looks like a structure that just has windows instead of something that's just built out of glass. Oh yeah, that's a lot better. Now back up on top and be careful up here, because if you fall down, and the whole point of this shaft is to almost kill a skeleton with full health, so you don't want to fall down there. It is going to hurt. Alright, so now we are ready to build the water elevator. So I'm going to put a water source on the top and let it flow all the way down. And then I need to get down there and place some signs so that it doesn't flow out everywhere. Alright, just like so. And then we'll go ahead and put kelp all the way up to turn all of these into water sources. And now we can break them all, and it should turn the whole thing into, well, it won't turn into a water elevator until we replace the dirt with soul sand. There we go. Now we're getting the bubbles. So this will launch the skeletons all the way up to the top. So once they're up here, we now need to push them over and drop them down into this hole. So I'm going to use some more glass, bring this whole thing up another two levels. Alright, this next part can be a little bit tricky. We're going to put a sign over here because we're going to have some flowing water, and we don't want it flowing down into the hole that leads down to the kill chamber. And we need to get some flowing water that flows from this side over to that side. Okay, so I'm going to build a little sort of extension on this side and knock out that glass. And I will put a water source here. But unfortunately, because there's a hole right there, the water is just going to flow straight down into it. We want it to flow over and create a little water stream on this side. So the way that I think we can do this is I'm going to put a temporary block over the water elevator so the water flows over. And now if we break that, it should just keep flowing over. Let's see if this works as intended. So I put some water there. It's going to push the skeletons this way. They'll flow down towards the soul sand. They'll hit the water elevator. They'll get shot up. Oh, that's not working. So something is stopping them right here. Okay, that should have been obvious. I just put a water source on top of that. So now they'll flow all the way up, and this will just flow over. We didn't need a water source behind it. Cue the Newbie Dave pop-up. Newbie Dave. Alright, so the last thing we need to do up here, I'm going to raise this whole thing one more level. And then we actually need to protect these skeletons. I know, right? Crazy. We need to keep them safe at least long enough to get over to the kill chamber where we can kill them. We don't want the sun to kill them. So skeletons will take damage from direct sunlight, and we don't want them exposed to direct sunlight, so we need to put a roof on top of this. Now fortunately, direct sunlight is literally just directly coming down from above. And so even though we built this thing out of glass, it doesn't matter what time of day, it doesn't matter what angle of the sky the sun is in. All that matters is the light coming from directly above. So as long as we put a solid block on top of those, there is still light leaking in from the sides, but it's not going to be enough to damage the skeletons. So this should be enough to keep them safe. So now we just need to finish the kill chamber before we can call this thing done. So I'm going to do, let's see, I'll do glass blocks like this. And this way I can see the skeletons drop down. And I think that's good enough. Yeah, we can try it out. I don't remember if they can shoot you from right there or if we'll need to put one more block. That's too much. We may need to put like a slab on the bottom of these, but I think that will be good. Alright, so I want to light up the kill room so that nothing spawns in here, but then we need to go fill in the spawning room with water, and then this thing should turn on. Now there's one little catch here, quite literally. There is a very good chance that when the skeletons slide through the water and hit the water elevator, they won't be completely in that water elevator chute just yet. They'll be like half out, and they a lot of times will get sort of stuck right there on the corner. What I'm hoping is that this thing is small enough that other skeletons will sort of push into them and push them the rest of the way into the water chute. Alright, so we'll start by putting a water source down there. And so this will push the skeletons all the way down to the soul sand. Now we need to fill this whole back wall with water. And just make sure that all the water flows all the way to the edge, that there's no empty blocks where a skeleton could just stall. Now, this is the dangerous part. We need to actually turn this thing on, and we do that by knocking out all the light in this room. So I'm going to start with the ones on the far wall here. And as you start breaking these torches, some skeletons might start spawning. Yep, just like that. And they're not going to be happy with you. So now we need to get out of here. And now we can come over here and see how this is working. So they're cruising down Skeleton Road. So yeah, you can see he's kind of shooting up and getting stuck there, but the next skeleton pushes him in. So that's fine. They'll just have to wait their turn a little bit. Okay, that's not good. He is dying when he lands. So I don't know if we built this too low because the next guy didn't. I think they might be taking damage up there somehow. I wonder if they're taking a little bit of damage from being in the water. So maybe we raise this up one level so that if they do take a little bit of damage, they don't die immediately. And ultimately, we're not building this as an XP farm, and so if we don't get the experience from the kill, that's not the end of the world. The real point of this is to get all the bones from the skeletons. So that's good. They're not shooting us, so I think their head has to be able to see you. I think if we got all the way up next to them, then they would be able to see us. Yeah, they're like shooting each other. As long as you stay back a little bit, you should be okay. Yeah, if you're not comfortable with that, just put another slab on the bottom of the glass here, and then they shouldn't be able to see you at all. So I think we need to fill in the sides here. We'll still be able to open the chest through the glass, and the problem is, as we're killing these guys, their loot was like dropping to the side and not into the hopper below it. So I haven't had any other skeletons die on landing. I think what happened was those first few skeletons, I was in the room with them when they spawned, and they probably like shot each other. So I think they just took damage before they even got down here. So yeah, this thing's working great. They fall, they have 1 hit point left. Anything that they drop either gets pulled into the hopper or we just pick it up if it pops out. No big deal. And you can see they kind of get backed up a little bit, but eventually they do make their way into the water elevator and they get shot up and carried over. So one important thing about spawner mechanics I forgot to mention, and why we had to build this kill chamber so close, is the spawner is only going to be active when you're within 16 blocks of it. And so I don't think any part of this room is far enough away for it to stop working. But if we had built this much further away, then we would be too far away from the spawner for any skeletons to actually spawn, and it would just be kind of useless. So you do need to be kind of close to the spawner for the skeletons to spawn, or else the whole thing will just break. And I will say, this water elevator is entirely optional. The only reason we did this is so that when they drop, they've only got like 1 or 2 hit points left, and we can take them out with a bucket or glass or our bare hands, doesn't really matter. So if the water elevator is causing you trouble, just forget about it, and at the end of this little water canal, just have them drop down 2 or 3 blocks into a little chamber like this, where they still have full health, and you just take them out with your sword. Alright, that's going to wrap things up today, guys. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this build. We're going to get so many bones from these skeletons, and that's going to give us so much bone meal, which we're going to be able to use for tree farms and duplicating flowers and all sorts of wonderful stuff. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed this episode. If so, please like it as it helps me out. And if you're enjoying the series, please subscribe so that you can get notified of future episodes as they come out. Thank you and have a great day.